Imagine waking up in a place where the first rays of sunlight touch mountain peaks dusted with snow, then glide down into valleys bursting with green. Imagine walking along a quiet shoreline where the sands glitters like powdered gold, and the only sound is the gentle rhythm of waves folding against the land. Now imagine turning your head and just a short drive away, those same shore give you to volcanoes, glaciers, and forests that feel older than time itself. This is New Zealand. Hey everyone, welcome to Famous Frontier. If you are new here, I am thrilled you have joined me today because this episode isn't just about travel, it's about stepping into a land so alive, so dramatic, so endlessly surprising that every moment feels like a discovery. I have been lucky enough to explore some breathtaking places, but nothing prepared me for what I found here. New Zealand landscape don't just sit quietly in the background. They grab hold of you, pull you in, and demand that you experience them with your whole being. When you first thought about New Zealand, you thought you knew what to expect. I had seen the photos, the travel documentaries, the drone shots that make every corner look like a fantasy novel brought to life. But let me tell you, the reality is far greater than the pictures. The colors are sharper, the air feels cleaner, the silence is deeper, and the way nature surrounds you, it's almost overwhelming. The beauty here doesn't scream for attention. It speaks in layers. One moment, it's the hush of a river winding through a valley, carrying stories older than humans. The next, it's the raw power of a cliff face battered by centuries of waves. Then, just when you think you have seen it all, a rainbow stretches across the sky so wide it feels like the whole world is holding its breath. But here's the thing, New Zealand's magic isn't just in what you see, it's in how it makes you feel. This is the kind of place where you forget to check your phones, where you lose track of time, where you remember what it's like to just be. And in a world where we are always rushing, always planning, always scrolling, that kind of stillness feels like a rare gift. Over the courses of this journey, I want to take you deeper. We will wander through volcanic landscapes that look like they belong to another planet. We will climb trails that lead to glaciers glowing in shades of blue you won't believe are real. We will paddle across lakes so clear that they look like giant mirrors. And we will drift into caves where glowworms light the darkness like galaxies. Along the way, we will meet some of the most unique creatures on earth and explore how the Maori people see this landscape not just as land but as living ancestors. This isn't going to be a postcard tour. It's a story of earth, water, sky, and life told in ways only New Zealand can tell it. So buckle in because by the time we are done, I guarantee you will feel like you have walked these trails with me. And who knows, you might just find yourself planning your own adventure to this extraordinary corner of the world. This is Famous Frontier, and today we are stepping into nature's masterpiece, New Zealand. The first stop on my journey through New Zealand's natural wonders was the North Island, and right away I realized this was no ordinary place. Here the land feels alive. You can actually see it breathtaking steam rising from cracks in the earth, geysers erupting with sudden force, and pools of boiling mud bubbling like coastlines. It's a reminder that this island sits on the edge of two tectonic plates where Earth is constantly reshaping itself. Walking through Rotorua, the smell of sulfur hits you immediately. Some people wrinkle their noses, but for me, it was like an invitation. The air told me, you are standing on powerful ground. The geothermal valleys here are unlike anything else. Terraces of mineral colors that look like paint spilled across the earth. Geysers launching plumbers into the sky. The hot spring where the water glows turquoise under the sunlight. I remember standing at Tiipuia, watching the famous Tohuta geysers erupt. It shot water nearly 100 feet into the air, roaring like a dragon walking from sleep. Around me, the ground hissed, steam curled upward, and the whole valley felt alive with energy. I couldn't help but think, this is the planet showing off, reminding us that we are just guests on its surface. But the North Island isn't just fire, it's also water. So much water, lakes and rivers carved through the land, each one carrying its own kind of magic. Lake Taupo, for example, is so vast it feels like more like a sea. Standing on its shore with waves lapping gently at the rocks. I had to remind myself this lake was created by a supervolcano eruption thousands of years ago, one of the largest eruptions on Earth's history. It's wild to think that something so violent could leave behind something so beautiful. Then there's the Waikato River, New Zealand's longest, winding its way past cliff and farmland. Along its courses lies Hookah Falls, a place where calm, white water suddenly squeezes into a narrow gauge and explodes forward in the roaring torrent. The sound is thunderous. The spray is so strong you feel it on your skin even from a distance. I stood there for what felt like hours, hypnotized by the raw, unstable power of water in motion. And yet, just when you think the North Island has shown you enough, it pulls out something unexpected: beaches. Endless coastlines, each one different from the last. On the east, you find golden sands and calm bays. On the west, the waves crash wildly against cliff and black sand stretches underfoot. I will never forget the first time I see the Fiha beach, just west of Auckland. The sand was black and hot from the sun. The waves powerful enough to make even experienced surface conscious. The rising above it all was Lion Rock, a massive volcanic formation that looks like a guardian watching over the shore. As the sun rippled low, painting the sky in orange and purple, the whole beach seemed to glow. It was one of those moments where you just stand still, letting the scene burn itself into your memory. But here's what makes the North Island even more special: the sense of culture woven into its landscape. The Maori people call this land Otorioro, the land of the long white cloud. Their stories are everywhere, in the mountains, rivers, lakes, and forests. Walking these trails isn't just a hike, It's stepping into a living storybook. Every landmark has a legend, every valley has a guardian, every river has a soul. One evening, if you joined a small group for a hangi, a traditional Maori feast cooked underground using heated stones, as the food roasted slowly beneath the earth, one host shared stories of their ancestors, of how they read the land, the stars, and the sea. The meal itself, tender lamb, kumara, and vegetables, was delicious, but it was the connection to the land that stayed with them. The idea that food, culture, and nature are not separate but deeply intertwined. And that's the thing about the North Island. It doesn't just show you landscape, it shows you relationship between fire and water, between people and place, between past and present. Standing there, surrounded by volcanic valleys, crashing rivers, and endless coastlines, everyone realized the North Island is not just a destination, it's an introduction to how alive New Zealand truly is. It whispers, it roars, it sings, and you will hear it all at once. If the North Island is the land of fire and water, then the South Island is the kingdom of stone and ice. The moment you crossed over, you felt like you would entered a different world. The air was sharper, the peaks more dramatic, the landscape stretches wider than the eye could follow. The backbone of the South Island is the Southern Alps, a mountain range that cuts across the island like a judged scare from another era. At their heart stands Aoraki or Mount Cook, the tallest peak in New Zealand. Its summit piercing the sky at over 12,000 feet. The Maori name Aoraki means cloud piercer, and when you see it rising above the cloud, you understand why. Driving into Mount Cook National Park felt like stepping into a painting. The road winds through valleys where rivers of glaciers melt shimmers in shades of turquoise, while on both sides mountains rise like titans. By the time you reached the trailhead, you were already in awe. You hiked the Hawker Valley track, a path that crosses swinging suspension bridges and leads straight to the base of the mighty Mount Cook. Along the way, you passed fields of wild alpine flowers swaying in the breeze, their colors popping against the stark grey of stone cliff. Glacial rivers rushed below, milky white with ground up rock dust. And then, finally, the trail opened up to reveal Hawker Lake, where floating chunks of ice drift quietly on the surface, broken off from the glacier above. Standing there with Mount Cook overtowering in the distance of icebergs bobbing at your feet, you felt small in the best way possible. Small because this was nature at its most powerful and eternal, and yet being part of that view, even as a teeny speck, made you feel more connected than ever. But Mount Cook isn't the only star here. The South Island is dotted with glaciers, each one a reminder of nature's slow but unstable force. Franz Joseph glaciers and Fox glaciers are two of the most famous, flowing down almost to the rainforest. That's right, here you can walk from lush green forest straight onto a river of ice. You joined a guided hike into Franz Joseph, strapping on crampons and following your guide up to the frozen surface. The glaciers groaned and cracked beneath you, shifting ever so slightly, as if reminding us it was alive. Deep blue crevasse spilled the ice, and meltwater trickled down into hidden channels below. At one point, you stopped to drink directly from a stream of glacier's water, cold, pure, untouched. It tasted like history. Then there was Lake Tekapo, with its unreal turquoise water framed by mountains. The colors comes from glaciers floor, tiny particles of rock ground down by glaciers and carried into the lake. On a sunny day, it looks like someone spilled a bucket of sky into the valley. At night, Tekapo becomes something else entirely, one of the best stargazing spots on earth. If you spent a night under that sky, lying on the ground wrapped in a blanket, watching as the Milky Way arced overhead, shooting stars darted across the heavens, and the longer you stared, the more galaxies revealed themselves. It felt like looking through a window into infinity, and in that silence, you realized New Zealand doesn't just give you beauty, it gives you perspective. The South Island wilderness also means weather that changes on a whim. One morning, if you set out to hike near Portland with the sun shining bright, within an hour cloud rolled in, rain poured down, and the trails became rivers. And yet, it didn't ruin the experience. It made it richer. The rain brought the forest alive. Waterfalls multiplied down every cliff, and mist curled mysteriously through the valleys. It was as if the land wanted to remind you, beauty here comes in all forms, not just sunshine. And let's not forget the wildlife of the high country. You spotted Kia, the world's only alpine parrot, hopping around trailhead and trying to snatch stage from unsuspecting hikers. They are cheeky, clever, and surprisingly loud, but they belong here as much as the glaciers do. Watching them soar above snow-capped peak was like seeing a flash of emerald against endless white. The South Island is often described as New Zealand's adventurous capital, and it's true. You can climb, ski, kayak, or even skydive over this landscape. But for you, the greatest adventure wasn't the adrenaline, it was simply standing still, breathing in the cold mountain air, and realizing that this is the kingdom of stone and ice. Nature still rules. Here, the mountains don't just surround you, they transformed you. If the mountains are New Zealand's crown, then the coastline is its necklace, wild, endless, and full of hidden gems. The sea here doesn't just frame the land, it shapes it, defines it, and sometimes even steals the show. On the South Island west coast, there's a place so dramatic it feels like a fantasy novel come to life. Portland National Park. Imagine cliff thousands of feet high plunging straight into dark blue water, waterfalls tumbling down like silver ribbons, and mist drifting mysteriously through narrow valleys. This is the land of the fiords. The most famous of them all, the Milford Sound. Some people call it the eighth wonder of the world, and standing on the deck of the boat surrounded by sheer granite walls, I understood why. Everywhere I looked, waterfalls cascaded down, some so tall they seemed to fall directly from the clouds. The water was mirror smooth, reflecting mountains so sharply it felt like looking into another world. And when dolphins suddenly lived alongside the boat, it was like the whole scene was choreographed by nature itself. But milfood isn't the only food. Doubtful sound is even larger and far quieter. Fewer tourists make it here, which means the silence is almost scared. I joined a small overnight cruise, and as the sun set, the water turned to liquid gold. That night, you anchored in a strapped cove and you stepped onto the deck in complete darkness. No city lights, no noise, just stars above and the faint call of birds notching off the cliff. It was one of the purest moments of peace you have ever known. Yet, the coast of New Zealand aren't just about towering cliffs, they are also about beaches, even with its own personality. The coast of New Zealand are like chapters in a book, each one different, each one telling a new story. From plots that humble you, to beaches that smooth you, to seas that remind you of the vast mysteries of life. This country's shores are endless invitation to wander. And the best part, you never really finish exploring them because just when you think you have seen the most beautiful beach or the wildest cliff, New Zealand surprises you with another one around the corner. I carry the adventure, the leaf of a bungee bridge, the paddle through calm waters, the climb across blue ice. I carry the stillness, the quiet of a forested town, the slow unfolding of mist over a valley. I carry the stories, the legends of Aroki, but more than anything, I carry the reminder that life is not measured in miles or minutes, but in moments, and New Zealand gave me moments I will never forget. To anyone watching this, in New Zealand calls you, answer. Pack your bags, board the plane, step onto the unknown because what you will find here is not just scenery, it's perspective, it's belonging, it's magic. And before I close this chapter, I want to say thank you to the land, of the people, and to you, my famous frontier family, for coming along on this journey with me. Sharing this experience with you makes them even more meaningful. If you have enjoyed this video through New Zealand's wild beauty, its forests, mountains, seas, and stories, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss another adventure. Your support helps me keep exploring, keep filming, and keep sharing the wonders of the world. Because this is not the end, this is just one frontier. And out there, beyond the horizon, are countless more waiting to be discovered. So, until the next journey, stay curious, stay wild, and keep chasing those frontiers. From New Zealand, the gratitude and awe. This is Famous Frontier signing off. Thank you.